Amory thought how superficial was the recent overlay of his own generation. Aside from a minute shyness, he felt that the old cynical kinship with his mother had not been one bit broken. Yet for the first few days he wandered about the gardens and along the shore in a state of super loneliness, finding a lethargic content in smoking bull at the garage with one of the chauffeurs. The 60 acres of the estate were dotted with old and new summer houses and many fountains and white benches that came suddenly into sight from foliage-hung hiding-places. There was a great and constantly increasing family of white cats that prowled the many flower-beds and were silhouetted suddenly at night against the darkening trees. It was on one of the shadowy paths that Beatrice at last captured Amory, after Mr. Blaine had, as usual, retired for the evening to his private library. After reproving him for avoiding her, she took him for a long tete-a-tete in the moonlight. He could not reconcile himself to her beauty, that was mother to his own, the exquisite neck and shoulders, the grace of a fortunate woman of 30. "Amory, dear," she crooned softly, "I had such a strange, weird time after I left you." "Did you, Beatrice?" "When I had my last breakdown." She spoke of it as a sturdy, gallant feat. "The doctors told me," her voice sang on a confidential note, "that if any man alive had done the consistent drinking that I have, he would have been physically shattered, my dear, and in his grave, long in his grave." Amory winced, and wondered how this would have sounded to Froggy Parker. "Yes," continued Beatrice tragically, "I had dreams, wonderful visions." She pressed the palms of her hands into her eyes. "I saw bronze rivers lapping marble shores, and great birds that soared through the air, parti-coloured birds with iridescent plumage. I heard strange music, and the flare of barbaric trumpets. What?" Amory had snickered. "What, Amory?" "I said, go on, Beatrice." "That was all. It merely recurred and recurred. Gardens that flaunted colouring against which this would be quite dull. Moons that whirled and swayed, paler than winter moons, more golden than harvest moons." "Are you quite well now, Beatrice?" "Quite well. As well as I will ever be. I am not understood, Amory. I know that can't express it to you, Amory, but I am not understood." Amory was quite moved. He put his arm around his mother, rubbing his head gently against her shoulder. "Poor Beatrice, poor Beatrice." "Tell me about you, Amory. Did you have 2 horrible years?" Amory considered lying, and then decided against it. "No, Beatrice, I enjoyed them. I adapted myself to the bourgeoisie. I became conventional." He surprised himself by saying that, and he pictured how Froggy would have gaped. "Beatrice," he said suddenly, "I want to go away to school. Everybody in Minneapolis is going to go away to school." Beatrice showed some alarm. "But you're only 15." "Yes, but everybody goes away to school at 15, and I want to, Beatrice." On Beatrice's suggestion the subject was dropped for the rest of the walk, but a week later she delighted him by saying, "Amory, I have decided to let you have your way. If you still want to, you can go to school." "Yes?" "To St. Regis's in Connecticut." Amory felt a quick excitement. "It's being arranged," continued Beatrice. "It's better that you should go away. I'd have preferred you to have gone to Eton, and then to Christ Church, Oxford, but it seems impracticable now. And for the present we'll let the university question take care of itself." "What are you going to do, Beatrice?" "Heaven knows. It seems my fate to fret away my years in this country. Not for a second do I regret being American. Indeed, I think that a regret typical of very vulgar people, and I feel sure we are the great coming nation. Yet," and she sighed, "I feel my life should have drowsed away close to an older, mellower civilization, a land of greens and autumnal browns." Amory did not answer, so his mother continued: "My regret is that you haven't been abroad, but still, as you are a man, it's better that you should grow up here under the snarling eagle. Is that the right term?" Amory agreed that it was. She would not have appreciated the Japanese invasion. "When do I go to school?" "Next month. You'll have to start east a little early to take your examinations. After that you'll have a free week, so I want you to go up the Hudson and pay a visit." "To who?" "To Monsignor Darcy, Amory. He wants to see you. He went to Harrow and then to Yale. Became a Catholic. I want him to talk to you. I feel he can be such a help." She stroked his auburn hair gently. "Dear Amory, dear Amory, dear Beatrice." So early in September, Amory, provided with 6 suits summer underwear, 6 suits winter underwear, 1 sweater or T-shirt, 1 jersey, 1 overcoat, winter, etc., set out for New England, the land of schools. There were Andover and Exeter with their memories of New England dead, large college-like democracies; St. Mark's, Groton, St. Regis's, recruited from Boston and the Knickerbocker families of New York; St. Paul's, with its great rinks; Pomfret and St. George's, prosperous and well dressed; Taft and Hotchkiss, which prepared the wealth of the Middle West for social success at Yale, Pawling, Westminster, Choate, Kent, and 100 others, all milling out their well set up, conventional, impressive type, year after year, their mental stimulus the college entrance exams, their vague purpose set forth in 100 circulars as "to impart a thorough mental, moral, and physical training as a Christian gentleman, to fit the boy for meeting the problems of his day and generation, and to give a solid foundation to the arts and sciences." At St. Regis's, Amory stayed 3 days and took his exams with a scoffing confidence, then doubling back to New York to pay his tutelary visit. The metropolis, barely glimpsed, made little impression on him except for the sense of cleanliness he drew from the tall white buildings seen from a Hudson River steamboat in the early morning. Indeed, his mind was so crowded with dreams of athletic prowess at school that he considered this visit only as a rather tiresome prelude to the great adventure. This, however, it did not prove to be. Monsignor Darcy's house was an ancient, rambling structure set on a hill overlooking the river, and there lived its owner, between his trips to all parts of the Roman Catholic world, rather like an exiled Stuart king waiting to be called to the rule of his land. Monsignor was 44 then, and bustling, a trifle too stout for symmetry, with hair the colour of spun gold, and a brilliant, enveloping personality. When he came into a room clad in his full purple regalia from thatch to toe, he resembled a Turner sunset, and attracted both admiration and attention. He had written 2 novels, one of them violently anti-Catholic, just before his conversion, and 5 years later another, in which he had attempted to turn all his clever jibes against Catholics into even cleverer innuendos against Episcopalians. He was intensely ritualistic, startlingly dramatic, loved the idea of God enough to be a celibate, and rather liked his neighbour. Children adored him because he was like a child. Youth revelled in his company because he was still a youth, and couldn't be shocked. In the proper land and century he might have been a Richelieu. At present he was a very moral, very religious, if not particularly pious, clergyman, making a great mystery about pulling rusty wires, and appreciating life to the fullest, if not entirely enjoying it. He and Amory took to each other at first sight, the jovial, impressive prelate who could dazzle an embassy ball, and the green-eyed, intent youth, in his first long trousers, accepted in their